on with the newspaper review. Remember, our social media lines are up and running at K24 on X as well as at K24 on Facebook and on Instagram. Keep those comments coming in as we progress on with the newspaper review. Of course, top of that list is issues pertaining to Masengeli situation and Douglas Kanja coming in to replace him. Joining me this morning to help us delve deeper into these conversations, I'm joined by Odoyo Owidi, who is the chair of the Lake Basin Development Authority and a political analyst, as well as Vivian T, who's a communication and public affairs expert. Later on, as we progress on with the segment, we'll be joined by Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, who's serving as a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the National Assembly. Now, let me just begin with you, Owidi, and looking at this issue pertaining to Masengeli, we're just in the wake of him being replaced with Douglas. But the main concern here, looking at somebody who's been charged on contempt of court, what sort of precedents are we setting here for a country where we have public officers who cannot abide by court summons?
I have followed the Masengeli story since it all began.
Yeah.
But I remember in exactly all the cases where he has been accused of defying court orders, he has always given a reason one way or the other why he has not been able to attend the courts. I have watched how his case has been covered by the various media houses in this country. I want to say that the coverage has been running on steroids. I have seen one of the media houses cover the Masengeli story for 25 minutes, non-stop. It is just Masengeli, Masengeli that. This is a single case where Masengeli was required to answer to certain questions in court. Something that I believe could easily be delegated either to a lawyer or one of his junior to give the information that the court wanted.
Yes.
I saw in the last regime, there was a time the interior minister disobeyed court orders in 5 cases. And I never saw the media running on steroids to castigate him the way they have done to Masengeli. This is media lynching for Masengeli. I know it is wrong to disobey any court order, but again, we need to review what were the reasons that Masengeli gave.
Yeah.
Was it possible for the courts to get this information from any other officer? In any case, Masengeli himself was not giving orders in the streets. There was no direct link between the police and the disappearing persons. It is just speculated that the persons who could have abducted these people must have been the police. But politics being what it is, it is possible that any other person with a political interest who wants to demean or bring down the government can easily perform this and blame it on the government. It does happen. Okay, but from where I sit, I really want to believe this country must run on the rule of law.
Well, let's give Masengeli that benefit of a doubt, and it's a good thing you've spoken about delegation.
Yes.
And the same was asked when the reasons were given for him not obeying those summons by the court. And when you look at that week that Masengeli was expected to appear in court, most of what he did were inspection tours. One, I believe, was in the coastal region. Then he came back and traveled to the North Rift region. And these were inspection tours which people also asked the same question. Why would he not delegate this to his deputy and appear and answer to these very same questions that he was asked? So if we're giving him that benefit of a doubt, then why would he not delegate and appear in court where he was needed on very serious issues to answer to?
I want to say that Masengeli, as the chief of police, it's ceremonial for him to appear in court. The persons who should have appeared in court, the person who is in the daily command of the police in and around the regions where these people are supposed to have been abducted. Masengeli himself has not said anything to disparage the court, to be what we call it, to disobey this court order. He has given reasons why he has not been there. But because of the political temperatures we have had now, it is possible that there are more things he knows than we know.
Okay. Well, let's come to you, Vivian. I mean, you've had sentiments that have been aired by Owidi right there. One alluding to the fact that this is a media lynch towards Masengeli, and of course him also alluding to the fact that there could be some political sort of witch hunt when it comes to this situation. Do you believe this is what is at play here?
I I only look at it in one lens.
Yeah.
We are a country governed by the Constitution of Kenya. We say we follow the rule of law, regardless of your stature or your position in this country. And the onus is on every state officer to follow the rule of law. If the court summons you, then appear. You are not God. You're not above the law. You cannot say that you disregarded, a court order and instead gave an affidavit. The summons of the court was not an affidavit. It was for a particular state officer to answer pertinent questions regarding missing Kenyans. And from what I read from the news story, I think he has snubbed court summons 7 times.
Yeah.
So it's not just once, it's 7 times. That's a show of arrogance. I don't think if the police or any other, or maybe parliament or senate or even, the county assembly summoned someone and they snubbed the summons, it would be taken lightly. Because I remember even the time when Sakaja was summoned, I think by Senate, it became a very big deal because he did not show several times. So I think we need to move on and stop politicizing everything. Yeah. The thing is, this was a pertinent issue. There were 3 Kenyans that were missing. Masengeli is the one at the head of the police service right now. Currently, he's the acting IG, and the buck stops with him. He should have honored the summons and explained himself in court. Is he above the law? Why is he not able to show up in court? He's not dead. He's alive. He's not sick. Yeah. So this is an absolute show of arrogance. It's very dishonorable for a state officer of his level to snub court summons 7 times. We want the system to work. The justice system works, the judiciary works together with the police. The system should work. Yeah. But if one arm or one, section of the system is not, is not playing ball, is not working in sync with, the judiciary, it's already a big red flag for Kenyans. I want Kenyans to imagine this. Can you imagine if it was just you, a normal individual, who's been summoned by the court and then you don't show up 7 times? Do you think you'd be walking free, taking photos with the president? You wouldn't. So heads need to roll. Something needs to happen. And I absolutely agree that he's not fit to hold state office. Okay.
Well, let me come to you, Owidi. Now, you're looking at issues pertaining to people believing that there's some sort of arrogance when it comes to the policing authority. And just a recent case, we saw a video where a police officer literally opened a tear gas canister next to the face of a university student. I don't know what would have happened or warranted that sort of action from a police towards a university student, but we're looking at a case where this issue is beginning from the top. The arrogance that we're speaking about, it comes from the bosses. How then do you expect those who are serving beneath him to operate differently? Because right now we're dealing with a case where we have rogue police officers literally opening tear gas canisters on students' faces. This could have been your son or something.
I saw that case, and I think it is not acceptable. Yeah. We cannot allow it in our country. But I think that is not the policy of the Kenyan police. Yeah. That was not a command from his bosses. Police officers do not operate like you do. You probably would have a microphone here and an earpiece here, and you can take direction sometimes from your editors. Yeah. Policemen don't have that. If they would have any instructions, it would be mass instruction on their police radio. That policeman who did that was acting on his own and must take responsibility for his actions. Because if it was a command from their bosses, all of them would have been doing that. This was a party. In fact, there were 3, but only one was going through, taking that boy through that misbehavior. That is not acceptable. In fact, he was wasting time that he could have used to clear the other demonstrators from the place if that was what took them there. Yeah. So I think the actions of an individual police officer should not be treated as the action of the police force in Kenya. That officer, as IPOA had decided, must be investigated and must take responsibility for his unacceptable illegal actions.
But do you believe something needs to change? Because it looks like we are constantly in the same position. These police officers keep on doing the same things. When we had peaceful demonstrations, we saw similar cases. Now we're having another peaceful demonstration, we're seeing a similar case. What therefore needs to change? Because all the time we're going to speak like he is acting on his own, not at the behest of somebody who's at the top, but the buck has to stop with somebody.
Let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
The police, the members of the police force is a random sample of our society.
Yeah.
If you see a police misbehave, no, there are Kenyans who misbehave also elsewhere. It is just that their time to be caught on such misbehaviors have not arrived. We have a very large police force. You can't miss 1, 2, or 3 people overacting in them. But Kenya having turned into a country of demos and protests, you will always see the police on the limelight. If these demos and protests, you will not even notice. You will not even notice that there are some rogue policemen within the police force. But because Kenya is a country where you can even have 3 demos going on per day for things as mundane as not having water. Honestly, not having water for 1 day because of a broken pipe somewhere does not warrant the kind of mayhem that I saw at university. I was also in university. We even sometimes missed food because the truck had rolled or water had been broken down. Such things were there. But I don't think those are things that you would get into a hall and the university administration would explain that you guys, you know, there was a tractor in the field and it ran over a pipe and it is being repaired. You can remain without water for a day or 2 as this is being done. But to go onto the road and say it is your right to have water, it is your right. But accidents do happen.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, we'll be following up on that as we progress on. Also, on the dailies right there, we look at... Sorry, can I... Yes, Vivian. Maybe just touch on that as...
I just wanted to add on to the issue of acting IG Masengeli and the obvious retaliation of withdrawing Justice Mugambi's you know, police security detail. I mean, that's just being petty. You know, you don't dishonor a court order, snub a court order, and then you retaliate by targeting the judge, you know, the judge in question.
He gave an explanation and said they went for training.
Yeah, but are they the only police officers or security detail who can, you know, you could have made arrangements, you could have communicated. It's just wrong. But also on Owidi's note about, you know, protesting about mundane things, I think protests are a way of expressing yourself, and it's enshrined in the Constitution. It doesn't matter what you're protesting about or over. The thing is, I want to remind him, Article 37 clearly says, every person has the right, peaceably and unarmed, to assemble, demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities, whether it's for water, food, you know, oxygen, whatever. Whatever the issue is, the thing is, our right of expression, whether for a mundane issue or not, is enshrined and acceptable in the Constitution. So there's no reason for you to castigate anybody who's going out there to express themselves. And I think we are at a time where we are, because of corruption and just how we've seen that the government is not taking so much action in regard to corruption. A lot of Kenyans feel like the only way to be heard is to go out and protest. Because if you talk, if you write, it's like nobody listens. So the only way to have your voice heard and to express yourself on certain issues is to actually picket. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. I think I need to say something about that. It's something I've always wanted to talk about, this Article 37, that everybody wants to talk about at every moment. That article is very clear on 2 things, peaceably and unarmed. What is peaceful about blocking the roads? What is peaceful about burning tires? What is peaceful about shouting all over the neighborhood? That kind of protest is illegal ab initio.
But Owidi, do you take into consideration that for them to get to that point in some instances, there's always provocation?
No. By the time we know they are on the streets, it is their noise, it is their blocking of roads that calls us to the street that, oh, there's a protest here. Let me tell you a peaceful protest looks like. Have you seen the Catholics? When they carry those twigs on the road, and that is a peaceful protest. But where you block the roads, where you shout, where you burn tires, where you pull down public infrastructure, that is not a public protest envisioned in Article 37. But even Article 37 was not put there as a spot that when you feel like you want to stretch your arms, you go and protest because it is legal. No, we have to be a society of order.
Okay, well, let's make some progress right here and just look at other stories on making headlines in our dailies right here. Still on you, Owidi, looking at that Adani Group now fighting back with regards to that takeover deal. We're just getting more details emanating on a day-to-day basis. We now learned that the group actually paid the government some 6.4 million in terms of facilitation fee, details that weren't necessarily revealed before. So them now, they're also fighting back, and we could very well be seeing some very controversial revelations in the coming days. And the question that many people are asking is that we are probably 2 months into this equation. Why is it so hard for the government to drop this company and say, you know what, we're going to explore? What is this that they're not telling us?
The government must follow rules, orders, and policies.
Yeah.
If they had gone to have a contract with Adani,
yeah,
following some due process, even when they are dropping it, it has to follow back on the due process,
yeah,
unfolded easily. So we can't just say the public has protested, so we have cancelled. What will happen when now Adani also goes to court? So they have to follow due process in dropping Adani. But something also we must accept in Kenya.
Yeah.
Public institutions cannot be run effectively as business enterprises as we have seen. We have seen many times the government has lifted KQ off almost bankruptcy. And 2 years later, they are back there.
Yeah.
The sugar millers, the government always settle their debts, pays their farmers, and they go back to milling like now they have gone back. Another 2 years, they are down again. Even the public hotels, when you go to them, the ones that belong to the government. So it is becoming clearly evident that to run these things effectively, we may have to partner with private institutions. Maybe Adani itself has issues that Kenyans need to complain about. But having to hand over public institutions, government enterprises to the private sector is a way of keeping them running effectively and smoothly.
Nobody has refuted the fact that PPPs work.
Yes.
But you're talking about due process, even if it means falling back on the deal that they've already struck.
Yes.
But the question is, where was that due process when this was being done in secrecy? Where was that due process in ensuring that this was done in public light to actually see to it that some of these concerns that are being raised, we could have avoided them before getting to this point?
For me, what you call secrecy is, I think, the media refused to report. These things are done in offices. They are open offices.
Yeah.
They are ministers. And this rumor of Adani thing came a long time ago. It needed to take some media house to go and find out what is going on here. And they report it as the thing goes on. Okay. But for us, we knew about it when it was reported to us. We don't walk into those offices on a daily basis. Most of the things we say are publicly done. They are publicly done because the media has made up their mind to report about them. Like now they are reporting Masengeli on everything. They should have started reporting a Adani deal when it all began.
Where was the government's role in ensuring that they declare this in public and see to it that this is a PPP that we are getting?
There are many government contracts, deals that the government does not have to come out and make them public to the public. It is the media that normally make them public to the public. Even today, where I am, we are having a 1.9 billion contract about to be signed. We don't have to call the media, come and see we are doing it. Because that is our daily job. If the media is interested, let them come and say, oh, what is this you are doing here? Oh, we have done a funding here. We are doing A, B, C, D. That's
all right, Vivian.
I don't think the onus falls squarely on the media only. I mean, there's a place for public participation, and this is a public asset, you know, that you're talking about, and not just a small public asset. Kenya Airports Authority is a big, you know, public asset that supports the entire airline industry in Kenya. So this is something that, you know, you don't just sign a deal like this. There's a place for public participation, and there was absolutely that the government is responsible for, and the government did not, in this case, do their part in terms of informing the public, because it is their responsibility. Citizens have a right to information, especially when it regards sale of, you know, public assets. There was no public participation done. There was no information shared in the public. So as much as you would want to blame the media, you know, the media can't report on everything unless they have the information. But the government, which is governing on our behalf, has the sole responsibility of informing us of what is happening and involving us, because we are taxpayers. So it's wrong. There was secrecy done in this thing, and that's why, you know, there are lots of red flags. Even in terms of the public accepting this deal, you know, we are wondering, why would you give foreigners, you know, the responsibility and charge over an asset as big as, you know, managing the airports? It's not even just about it's also a security issue, because airports are an entry point into, you know, into the country. So these are the things I'd like to raise. I don't think it's just about, you know, media reporting on this thing. I think also the government failed in its responsibility of ensuring citizens are involved, engaged, and informed.
But allow me to say something about public participation. I think talking about public participation, even when the contract was not, it was a draft contract. What do you take to the public? You take to the public the contract, and you say, this is the contract we want to have with Adani. Because of these reasons, we need to get this. So the time for public participation was not yet. The contract was not yet signed. So I have seen that in many other publications, that the contract was not complete. It was still going on, negotiations, counter negotiations. But also let me say something about something called public participation in Kenya. It is one of the most misplaced requirements, not because the public is not supposed to know anything. But again, there are also certain things that if you put public participation will never be done. For example, if you want to increase VAT and you ask the public, they will never say yes. And again, there is no framework in this country for doing public participation. There are some people who call their clansmen and say, oh, we want to build for you this.
No, but there is a framework constitutionally on how it should be done.
The constitution requires public participation.
Yes.
But the framework, I mean, how do you do it? Who is called? How do we take the minutes? You see, that kind of thing is not there.
But that's
we need
not
an act for public participation.
Yes, as Vivian said.
No, it has to be an excuse, because if something has to be done, how it is to be done must be very clear in law.
So if it's not there, it means you flout it, you don't do it. And yet the
you must have a way of doing it.
Yes.
Because otherwise it can be misused like it is misused. Today, anybody wants to go to court, will go to court. You did not do public participation.
If it's true, if it's based on
you agree with you today, there was no public participation. Remove it.
No,
it is possible.
We will not have public participation for your suit, but we will definitely have public participation for
public things,
national assets.
I just wanted to make it clear that people can now go and cite public participation on anything public.
If it is public, and if it is a public asset, yes.
Well,
absolutely.
Wade maintains right there that we don't have a framework for that. He believes this public participation needs a framework so that we actually see to it.
It's like we are selling Kenya to the highest bidder. Well, whoever has the most money can take our assets.
Okay, let's move on here, right here. Also in the dailies, we're looking at issues pertaining to our education sector being in crisis, and some of the issues that have been highlighted there is the situation with the transition of grade 7 and 8 into the next level of education in the junior secondary. We have the school fire tragedies, but of course at the center of this education crisis is the varsity funding model. This is a model that people have refused. They do not want this funding model. Parents have talked about the one that has been in existence, which is HELP. It used to work. So they're asking, why not just fix this instead of giving us this new model that bundles people in these bands? And right now we've seen UASU go on strike and say, you know what, we're ready for these conversations, but we have to have a return to work formula. One of those conditions is you have to drop these funding models. What's this obsession with the current regime in terms of just literally fixing and changing things that people believe have been working?
I have seen everybody who is criticizing the funding model, including the students, the and members. Nobody has come with a workable formula.
It's not our job to come up with
nobody has come up with a workable formula. Say, this one of yours is wrong, try this one. This is the reason why we say this funding model is wrong. Let me tell you something. When I was going to school those old days, when I was in primary school, the Kenya government was able to give me free exercise books and pencils. And each time they were filled up, they would be replaced by public resources. When I reached the university, I was being paid for being in university. I was having free food. And even that free food, I would even walk in there with my guests and they would eat and go away. That is how vibrant the economy was. This economy has been going down and down. As population increases, the economy was not increasing with it. And at that time, President William Ruto was not the president. We have had successive presidents until now.
Yeah.
President William Ruto takes power at a time when it is so difficult to fund public expenditure. Very difficult. Actually, the president is struggling to find a working formula to fund university education. An education that has been brought down by the previous presidents without the public even complaining.
Yeah.
I think we need to give President William Ruto a medal for struggling to find solutions to our problems. And there are many. And unfortunately for him, he does not even have a supportive vice president to help him make this. Instead, he goes out there to say, you know me, I don't lie. And then on this other side, other people are claiming.
What do you mean by he doesn't have a supportive deputy president?
When did you last see the DP near the president? When the Gen Zs were raiding
Honestly,
Parliament, where was the DP? You know, we can't keep on pretending that these people are working together. We can't keep on pretending. We just have to come and say, we have a problem in our hands, how do we solve it?
Okay.
So today, as we go, you can't complain that I'm doing the wrong thing, that you are not even trying to suggest this is the right thing. If you do not have the right way of doing things, my one you are complaining is wrong will remain the right one.
All righty. We take a break right here. A patting shot already right there given by Owidi. He says we cannot pretend that the president has a supportive deputy president. These people are not working together. And he also says that if you do not have a solution, if you don't have a way forward, then whatever is proposed should take the order of the day. I don't know how most of you feel about that. You be the judge. We take a short break. We'll be back with the discussions.